I was underage when I finally got a pretty big inheritance. I knew I was going to get it for a while because my grandmother had been sick. Well, my parents were looking after the inheritance until I turned 18, but the thing I did not expect was for me to have a baby. My daughter ended up getting sick. She needed life-changing surgery. I told my parents, obviously they're in the loop, but they said, "Sorry, hun, that money is gone." Well, what do you mean the money's gone? It was $180,000. Where'd it go? You won't believe what they did with this money. Now my daughter is fighting for her life and I can't pay for it. Imagine your parents took something and promised that until you needed it in the future, it would be safe with them. Remember, the very reason they took it from you was just to keep it safe for the future. For you, they say. Now let's say that you're in desperate need of that thing and you remember that you gave it to your parents. How would you feel if they told you that the thing they took from you was gone and they could do nothing about it? Now, would you be mad? Well, I'm furious and I have no idea what to do about the current situation. See, my name is Blake and I'm 29, and I just can't believe that my parents, out of all people, have messed up this badly. Now they're acting like none of this is their fault at all. They're saying that I'm overreacting and I should understand their position. There's nothing to understand here. They were my last hope. So, let me explain. Over 10 years ago, after losing my grandmother Susan, she passed away. She left me quite a bit of money. I think that she left me the most money out of the whole family. I used to live with my dad, mom, and my older sister. I had a great relationship with her. She didn't really like dad much, even though he was her son, but she loved everybody else. She especially showed love for me. I can't tell you why, but we did have a special bond, and I spent a lot of time with her, as I enjoyed her company a lot. She gave great advice and taught me a lot of things about life, some of which I still use today. When she passed, I was devastated. I was 19 years old, and she was the first person I ever lost whom I really cared about. It took me a while to smile again, but my grandmother had taught me how to deal with grief. She was truly a wonderful woman. A bit later, I found out that she had left me a $180,000 inheritance. I never really knew how much money grandmother had, but it turns out she was loaded. She left that amount just for me. She also left my parents and my sister money, but I'm pretty sure mine was the biggest. I don't know about my parents, but she left my sister $110,000. I know about this because my sister was complaining about why I got more than her. She had just finished college at that point, so it was surprising to see that she still could not use her brain. She barely spoke to grandmother. If I were in her place, I would have been happy to even get anything. Moving on, grandma left me a huge amount of money that I had no idea what to do with. I've never been much of a spender who likes fancy things or anything like that, and I had most of the things I wanted. All I needed was a new computer, and my parents had already promised to buy me one. I was also working a part-time job at this point, so I had pocket money. My parents asked me if I wanted to do anything with it right now, and I just said no. So they asked me to do something for them. They asked me to give them access to the money so they could keep it safe for me when I needed it in the future. They told me that if I had access to it, I would want to use it, and slowly I'd start spending it until everything was gone. Instead, I could give the money to them, and in the future, when I would be in need of that money, they would have it for me. It's almost funny thinking about this now because I am in that exact situation and the money's gone. I regret agreeing to their demand, but at the time it felt like a great decision. Plus, how was I supposed to know what was going to happen in the future? I fully trusted them, so I gave them the money for safekeeping and never once asked about it. I didn't feel the need to even think about it, as my parents were not the kind of people who would just use it. I finished college, started working, and even got married without thinking about the money. Actually, when I was about to get married, I didn't think about asking them for a part of the money, but we made it work. I was a bit hesitant because my parents didn't like my husband, Andrew. They also didn't like the fact that I got married early on. They wanted me to wait. I couldn't. Andrew was the perfect guy, and both of us wanted to start a family together. We both had good jobs and believed that things would work out for us. Well, a year after getting married, We had a beautiful daughter named Juno, who is 4 years old now. My parents did like Juno, but they still were not happy with my decision to get married against their wishes, because they disliked my husband. I grew a bit distant from my parents. I still spoke to them and met them from time to time, but we weren't as close as before. Then, last year, my life turned around when my husband passed away in an accident. I cannot explain to you how it felt to find out that the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with was gone. He was the only one who fully understood me and loved me unconditionally. I don't think I have to tell you how it feels to lose a person like that. I don't know what I would have done if I didn't have Juno with me. After Andrew passed, my parents got a lot closer to me, and I'm thankful that they helped. My parents' support got me through the toughest time, but now I'm upset with those same parents because it feels like they actually don't care about me or my child. So, for the past few months, Juno has been really sick. One day she just became sick out of nowhere, and it slowly got worse and worse. Now she's been in the hospital for a few days, and the doctors have told me that the only way she's going to survive is with a specialized surgery that's not covered by insurance. Okay. Obviously, I told them to go through with it, and currently, they're prepping. It's going to take a week or so, but I don't have the money for the surgery. As the situation came upon me, you guys can guess where I went. I thought about the money and went straight to my parents. On my way there, I kept thinking about how my parents were going to save my daughter. I kept thinking that the only reason I had this money was because of them. But things took a quick turn when I spoke to them. They were quite shocked when I asked for the money, especially Mother, as she looked a bit scared, which was weird. Dad then told me that the money is gone. They'd made some bad investments thinking it would grow the money, but it just drained it. I was in shock listening to all of this and was praying that this was some bad joke. I kept asking them to say it wasn't true, but my parents apologized and said it was, and that they could do nothing now. The way that they said that just made me furious. I almost screamed at them that they should have told me before doing anything, or at least mentioned that the money was gone. Dad said he did all this for me and was trying to make my life better. I told him my daughter was fighting for her life, and this money was the only option I had. They just said sorry. Now, my parents are okay financially. They have a nice house, a good car, they're both retired. So tell me, am I wrong in asking them to pay for the surgery? Because when I did, Father said that it was his responsibility. He then calmed down and told me that he didn't mean to say that he was just disappointed that he lost my money, and now that I need it, he can't even give it to me. He said that he doesn't have that much money. I told him that was his fault, that my money's gone, and he said it wasn't fair to blame him, that they were trying their best to make my life better. So, in short, my parents are out and my inheritance money is gone, which means I'm out of options. I'll pay for my daughter's operation no matter what. That's not the issue. I'm a bit worried about that, but I'm very hurt that my parents did this to me, and they don't even think they're in the wrong here. Update 1. Hey, I'm Blake, and about 2 months ago I made a post here. I talked about how my parents took my inheritance and told me they lost it when I needed it. The reason I'm giving you an update is that yesterday I found out something that doesn't make any sense. Actually, it makes sense, but I don't want to believe it. Let me start with the best news first. My daughter Juno's surgery went well. She's doing very well now, and she has completely recovered and has resumed school. She was very excited to see her friends again. They came to visit her in the hospital too, with their parents. I guess you're wondering how I paid for it. Well, I didn't have many choices, as my parents told me they could not help me, so I was thinking about taking a loan against the house or something like that. But I didn't have to. Even from the afterlife, Andrew had to do something for us. A friend of my husband's, let's call him Tom, reached out to me and came to see me and my daughter. I'd seen him before, but I hadn't really spoken to him too much. He was a good friend of my husband, but he was rarely around. He told me that he found out through a mutual friend about what we were going through. He told me I didn't have to worry about the surgery, as he had already taken care of it through his connections. He's a very well-connected person, and to put it simply, he's rich. I told him I could not take his money, and he said he already had, and that there were two more things. Juno was like a daughter to him too, and he already had a debt to repay to my husband. After he passed away, this was the best way to give back to him. He became very emotional while talking about it. He told me that Andrew had done a lot for him. At that point, all I could do was thank him for his help. He did not explain to me what Andrew had done for him, and he said nothing else. He just gave me his contact in case I needed help in the future, and left after talking to Juno. You could say that he was like an angel sent by my husband. I still can't believe that Andrew is still taking care of us. I'm sure if he could read this, he would laugh at it. Anyway, after all that went well, I started thinking about what I should do about my parents. I was still angry at them, as without Tom's help, I would have gotten into a lot of trouble. But, a few days after the operation, they came to me and apologized for what happened. Dad told me that he wanted to help but could not, and if I hadn't gotten help, he would have regretted it forever. That was the day I realized it feels really bad to see your own parents begging you to forgive them. I was still a bit upset, but I had no choice. I believed it wasn't their fault. A lot of you had the same opinion, too, that they only wanted to do better for me and ended up making a mistake. So I forgave them and decided to forget about everything that happened, even the inheritance, and I just decided to let it all go. I was visiting Mom and Dad. Dad was out with his buddies while Mother played with Juno. I thought that I would help her with cleaning Dad's work office. He still has to work from home from time to time, though he's mostly retired. So I was just going through a truckload of papers and arranging them while cleaning up there. In one of the drawers, I happened to see some text files, so I took a look. Guess what? My inheritance is not gone at all. My parents still have it. Heck, it's even grown to $300,000. It could be even more, as they could have used it, but that's the amount that I saw. After that, I made some excuses and left. I did take some photos, and now I'm sitting here wondering if my parents really did this to me, or if all that was a nightmare. How could they do this? They not only stole from and lied to me, they refused to help my own daughter. What is wrong with them? Update 2. Hello everyone. It's been a week, and the things I have found out are crazy. I know a lot of you wanted me to just confront my parents and try to find out the truth, but I couldn't do that. I wanted to know more first, so let me go and explain. I think after what I found out last time, it's pretty clear that my parents were manipulating me while happily using my money. As soon as I saw the papers, I was sure that they lied to me and stole from me. I just didn't want to believe it. This made me think that confronting them wasn't really a good idea, because there isn't an explanation they can give that can justify their actions. They would have let my daughter go to heaven instead of telling me that they did have my money and were keeping it for some sort of reason. Well, I don't know what it is. I refuse to believe it's just greed. My parents cannot be so uncaring that they would do all of this just for greed. It's surprising that I was right in being suspicious of them. After everything, I had still forgiven them, but it turns out they didn't care about me or my kid in the first place. So, what good does it do if I talk to them now and ask them to explain what's going on? Obviously, they're just going to lie. So instead of doing that, I decided to dig further and find out what's going on. I have a friend I've made through work who is a financial fraud investigator. Let's call him Frank. I came to the decision that asking for his help would be the best move, but I was skeptical, as Frank and I are not close friends. I contacted him, we met, and I told him everything. After he learned about the situation, he was so upset. He said that they had no right to do this, and they could have at least given me back the principal amount that I'd given them. He agreed to help me, and I showed him the proof that I had. While he was studying it, I was just sitting there scared, as I had no idea what he was going to tell me. So, after a long minute, he told me that my parents were even worse than we had previously thought. According to him, my money had grown to over $500,000, and they'd been using it. I can't believe it. So he asked me for a few days, and we met again yesterday. He told me he'd spent the past few days doing some digging and finding out how and where my parents had used my money. Turns out, the home renovations they did, and a lot of stuff that was bought, were paid for with my money. Their cars, and even my older sister's wedding, came from them using my money. I don't think I've told you this, but my older sister used up her whole inheritance 2 years after she got it, so she asked me to give her a part of mine. I refused because she has never been good with money. She spent all of her money on parties and expensive things that she simply doesn't even need. I mean, come on. So I felt like saving my money for a rainy day, but it turns out I sponsored her wedding, guys. It just really hurts to find things like this out. They had money that could change my life, and they didn't even give it to me at all. I would have taken however much they gave me, but instead they said they took everything for themselves. I mean, what kind of parent does this? Now that I have more information and evidence, I'm going to confront them. I'll let you guys know how it goes. I'm also trying to contact my grandmother's lawyer because Frank thinks that we should inform him too. I also think that he should know. Update 3. Hey guys. So it's actually been a few days, and I think the more I dig around, the worse my parents get. After last time, I really thought there was nothing that they could do to surprise me, but I was wrong. Let me tell you about it. See, after my last update, I contacted grandmother's lawyer. All I managed to find out about him was an email, but it did the job. He told me he was coming to the city this morning, and after I explained everything to him, he asked me to first talk to him before doing anything. The way that he said that made me suspicious that he knew something about this, so I waited for him to come before confronting my parents. Originally, I was thinking of just confronting them after informing him about what had happened. This morning, I met with my grandmother's lawyer. He told me something that completely shocked me. He first apologized to me and told me that he could have warned me that something like this might happen, but he was under orders from grandmother not to tell me anything until he had a reason to. I was very confused and asked him what he was even talking about. He told me that he was trying to explain that he and my grandmother both knew how my parents were, but didn't tell me. He then showed me a video that my grandmother had left for me, explaining what had happened. So it turns out that at first, my grandmother did not want to give her inheritance to anyone else except me. She wanted to give me a share and donate everything else. She believed that everyone except me only cared about her wealth. And honestly, she was right. But when she first made this decision and my parents found out, they did something to change her mind. They used me to blackmail her into doing what they wanted. See, they told grandmother that if she did not leave them a certain amount of money, they were going to make my life miserable. Just because they could, and it would all be grandma's fault. They threatened to never let me smile again for the rest of my life, and to make my work life like it was free labor. My sweet grandmother believed them and could not let me suffer. So before she passed, she left everyone money just so nothing would happen to me. Can you believe it? I called these people my parents. I can't believe I trusted them. They were using me even before I got my money. They're just greedy people who only care about money. When I watched my grandmother's face while she told me all this, I almost started crying, but it made me more angry than sad. The lawyer told me he wanted to explain all this 10 years ago, but he decided it would be too hard to convince me. He didn't want to disobey grandmother's wishes. She had asked him to keep an eye on me and tell me the truth if my parents mistreated me, so he did. I thanked him for the truth and the proof, and he told me to make my parents regret doing everything they did. Believe me, I'll make them regret it. I'm going there tomorrow with Frank. Update 4. Final update. It's been exactly a month, and let me tell you, I apologize for the late update, but I had to take some time before writing this. The day after my last update, I went to my parents simply to confront them. They had no idea what was about to happen, as they were happy to see me. I didn't waste any time and showed them what I had found at Dad's home office. I asked them what this was and why they had refused to help me with my daughter and why they had lied about the inheritance. My parents sat there straight-faced while trying to lie to me. It was unbelievable. They told me that this was a misunderstanding and that they had lost all my money. I begged them to stop lying and tell me the truth. Dad said that was the truth. So I invited Frank in and introduced him. Seeing that I had a financial investigator with me, Mother started to tear up. She told me that I didn't have to use someone like him, and that it hurt her heart that I believed they would take my money. She told me that they were the only family I had, and I had to believe them and stay loyal to them. I asked her to stop with the emotional manipulation and told them how I knew what was going on. Father slid me a check for the original amount and told me he was just borrowing it. Can you believe the nerve? I tore up the check and told him I needed money when my daughter was on the verge of death, and now I just needed to hear the truth. I didn't need his money. He said that they had the money, and they were going to give it to me in due time. I then asked him to stop talking and told him how much he had lied. I then explained to them that I also knew what they did to my grandmother and showed them the video she left me. Dad didn't even utter a word, but Mom broke down and told me the truth. She said they needed money, and grandmother refused to give them any, so they had to do something. She promised that they were never going to do anything to me and that they were only threatening my grandma. She begged me to forget about this and told me that they were going to give me all the money I should have gotten. I asked Dad if he had anything to say, but he just kept looking down at the ground. I then told them both that they were not my family anymore. I told them that they were not my parents, because I didn't want to be related to people like them. Mom begged me not to do it, but I got them arrested after that. So, well, I had to wait a while to tell you guys for sure, and now I know for sure. My parents are going to prison. They also have to pay me back for every dollar that they took and used. Honestly, I don't even care about the money. I can't believe that they would do this to me. Juno has been asking where her grandpa is, and I don't even know how to tell her. I mean, anyway, guys, that's it for me. Hopefully, I won't have to write here again. Thank you for reading.